Aloha everyone. Well, this is my Facebook Live, but it's less live and more Facebook. I'm here in Italy and the time zone difference, well, it makes it tough to kind of do those regular Facebook Lives. And I still wanted to post a video, put something up to help you guys out. And I want to tackle a pretty difficult topic. I want to tackle something that's pretty big that I think almost everyone goes through at some point in their life. I have too. I've gone through rough times, and how do you deal with it and how do you begin to get out of it? And I want to tackle a big thing called victim mentality. And look, I haven't been through the worst things in life. I've worked with some people that have gone through things that I look back at my life and said, I have no right to complain. Worked with a lady who had been kidnapped by her father and from Kona and taken to California and ritualistically abused for 2 weeks straight. And as she shared with me what had occurred while I was doing a breakthrough session with her, it broke my heart. It felt like it broke my spirit, my belief in humanity. I stopped for a moment though, because I had just gone through a phase in my life where I was really pointing the finger at other people and not taking responsibility. And I happened to work with her right at the end of that time in my life, and I hadn't yet fully come out of it. And when I heard what she had been through, I felt guilty. I felt like an ass. Like, I have nothing to complain about, was my first thought. Like, what have you been complaining about? And yeah, I had to take a step back at one point and just in that moment say, I have a right to my feelings, and what I went through is valid, and what I went through was real. No, it wasn't as extreme as what that person over there went through or that person over there went through. It didn't make it any easier though in the moment. It was still a difficult time. As she let go of her negative emotions, as I did mental and emotional release with her, as I did ho'oponopono with her, as she went through the release work, suddenly I sat there and I went, wow, I'm listening to her language change and I'm listening to her whole mentality change. And I went, there's a difference. There's a night and day difference as to how she perceives the world around her, as to how she experiences things. And I was blown away by it. And it really shifted my perception on the detriments of that blamer mode, that victim mentality. Look, I felt like I was ignored by my dad as a kid growing up. I confronted him at one point, not in a mean way, not in a hostile way, just as in a human way. Hey, Dad, what's up, man? He's like, I don't remember that. I worked my ass off for you. I sent you to school. I did this, I did that. And I'm like, in his reality, everything that he was doing for me. And yet I felt so ignored. Our relationship ended poorly when I was 18. Moved out of the house, got a job delivering pizza, and I talk about that time as being an amazing time. I rarely share with people, I was essentially homeless. I lived out of my car. Yeah, I had a couple of places that I could go to, but if my friends' girlfriends were coming over, there were a few nights where the back seat of my car, that was my bed. I was pissed, man. I was so angry. 18, 19, 20, I was so angry. I was angry with my dad. Why weren't you there when I was a kid? Why didn't you focus in on me? And I was just constantly pointing my finger and just so angry. And every little thing that would go wrong, I'd blame him for. Everything that would happen, that it could have been better. Then I had something to pinpoint it to. And the problem with that is, I know you guys have heard the analogy, when you point one finger, there's three pointing back. Just never mind that analogy for a moment. Just think about what you're doing with your power, right? I believe that you are the most empowered person ever. All 7.5 billion of us are empowered beings. We have so much potential, so much ability. One of my clients that I've been working with for a year, she came to the United States with $50 in her pocket. $50, that's all her parents could afford. She went to school, got a degree, opened up her own company, and 10, 15 years later, 20 years later, her company is, $300 million a year strong. She never bought into the excuses. She never bought into limitations. I did. I did for a while. Her story is incredible. It inspires me. She never bought into any limitations, and even I have gone through phases in my life where I've gone, it's that person's fault over there. The problem is that you have so much power inside of you. You have so much empowerment. And the moment you say, that person over there, you're taking your power and you're handing it to them. That's the realization that I got hit with. It's the idea that by blaming someone else, you're actually giving away your power. And that's what I was doing. I was giving away my power. This was a long time ago. This is in the 90s for me. And when I got to work with a bunch of people, almost back to back, that had gone through things, and as I helped them do release work and I watched them take their power back, and never ignoring the fact that yes, they've been through a horrible time. Yes, they have been through something very difficult. Their language changed though. I remember the girl that I was working with who had been kidnapped by her dad. She sat there and she went, I never want to see him again. I don't want to have a relationship with him. I don't believe that I can. I don't feel safe around him, she said. And I am who I am today, and that was a part of it. And someday she said, maybe I'll have kids. She has kids now. Crazy as that may sound, she has kids now. And she didn't at the time. She didn't want to have kids because of what happened to her. She said, someday I may have kids, and maybe going through this lesson, I'll be better at keeping them safe, teaching them how to look at this world. I remember listening to her change her language and openly talk about her dad. She stopped blaming her mom. She was very angry with her mom about letting it happen. Even though, how could that have been her mom's fault? Her mom wasn't home. Anyway, I heard the language change in how she described her reality. And I heard so much empowerment. And her health was still not in the way that it wanted to be. Her relationship wasn't. And yet that baggage that she was holding on to, that I had no power, when she let it go, it transformed her perception of the reality in the moment. And she was a kid. It wasn't her fault. She's not to blame for what occurred. You can't even say that she created it on a conscious level. It happened to her. Listen to my language. It happened to her. She had no power, no way of stopping it, no physical strength, emotional, mental, or energetic strength to stop it. She was, in that moment, a victim of something absolutely horrible. We all have had moments where we have been a victim of something horrible, terrible, dark times in our lives. We all have, to varying degrees. The idea of letting this go isn't letting go of what occurred. I lived in my car for a while. She went through a traumatic experience. I've worked with people that have been through such a huge level of abuse that you sit there and go, I got nothing to complain about, like I've said already. When you let go of your baggage around it, when you free yourself of the anger, the sadness, the fear, the hurt, the guilt, when you gain true forgiveness through a technique like ho'oponopono, then what occurs is that you let go of the darkness that you're carrying inside. It doesn't change what happened. It changes your emotional response to what happened. It changes how you point a finger. You stop pointing the finger in the past and you start pointing the finger towards the future, saying, that's what happened to me, and here's where I'm heading, and here's what I'm going to do because of it. Maybe you go out there and change the world. Maybe you go out there and help other people find light on their path. maybe just a few people. I remember my father, when my son was born, he looked at me and he said, "How do I be a grandfather?" I'm like, "Dad, I love you very much." And we had a great relationship at that time. I was in my 20s. Ethan was born. I said, "I got to figure out how to be a dad." I said, "I love you." And come on, man, I got to figure that out. Ethan only remembers seeing his grandfather once or twice, even though we lived a few minutes away. It just wasn't my dad's gig. And I remember one time Ethan being really sad about that. And I said, "Hey, buddy, you know how my dad is. How am I?" And he said, "You're an amazing dad." He said, "You're always around." I said, "Right." I said, "So from my heart, I can't allow you to make any excuses. Oh, my mom this. Oh, my dad that. Oh, my grandfather this." Oh, I'm like, we all can either, at some point on the path, make a decision. Are we going to look in the past and say, here's the reason why I'm not amazing? Or are we going to turn to the future and go, I have so much potential. And today is the first day, what's that classic line? Today is the first day of the rest of my life. Today is the day where I get to be amazing. And maybe the first step is letting go of baggage. I mean, come on, guys, go online. There's a book. I wrote a book called Mental and Emotional Release. There's a book called Ho'oponopono. My wife, who's been through some crazy stuff, taught with Deepak Chopra for 10 years. Her book just came out, Healing Your Heart. How to rewrite. All of these are my company, the Empowerment Partnership, sharing with you guys, there is a possible way for you to let go of the baggage, to stop looking into the past and start looking into the future going, great, I'm going to learn from this. I'm going to gain the lesson and I'm going to begin to move forward in my life. The Hawaiians had a concept called onilne, have a concept called onilne. It's still taught to this day. I grew up there in Hawaii. I'm on the other side of the planet right now, though. But the lesson is still very important to me. Anno is seed, and I is to eat it. The Hawaiians had 7 consonants and 5 vowels, so words were very metaphorical. And I remember one of my spiritual teachers, Uncle George, saying to me, in everything in life, there is an anno, a seed. He means by that a lesson. And your job is to take that lesson inside, to take it in, and how am I going to incorporate this now into the future? Hawaiians use the analogy of the anno, the seed, because the physical seed, if I were to give you a seed, you wouldn't hold the seed in your hand and go, oh man, I should have had this 2 years ago. If I had planted it, I'd already have avocados. No, you take the seed and you say, thank you. I'm going to plant it today. I'm going to water it. I'm going to nurture it. And soon in the future, I'll have an amazing fruit, an amazing vegetable, whatever grows from it. Beautiful flowers. So the concept of the onilne is that when you gain the lesson, when you wake up one day and you go, enough with the blamer mode, enough with the victim mentality, that lesson that you gain, you're not supposed to turn into the past and go, my past 3 years I've been living horribly, 10 years, 20, no. The onilne is you take it inside of you. How am I going to be today now and tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that? And one day that seed will bear fruit and you will have an amazing experience of who you are. So I know this is a touchy subject for some people. I know that it can be difficult. For some people, it's a matter of release. It's gone. They're able to move forward. For some people, it's like peeling back the layers of an onion. See if every single day you can let go of a little bit more and a little bit more and take that next step into the future and the next step into the future. And before you know it, the lessons that you've gained in the past, all of a sudden, your entire property is filled with fruits and vegetables, and all of the lessons have given you the things that you need in life to sustain yourself and to be truly happy and to be completely empowered. Sorry again, please forgive me, I should say, that this wasn't live, and I hope that the lessons were just as powerful, and I look forward to when I'm back in the States doing these live again. Until then, aloha.